Here's something that'll help you based on what I've learned from studying values all around the world. It's a little story I read in the news the other day. A couple on a long-haul Delta flight was moments from takeoff when they realized their passport had disappeared. Of course, they got really panicky and all upset and started asking people for help and called the flight crew. And this, they'd been planning this 5-week dream trip, and it was about to evaporate before their very eyes. And the crew had no choice. They couldn't take off if they knew that these folks would be, rejected when they landed. So they were starting to prepare paperwork to offload them. And you could feel everybody in the cabin getting really tense, according to the story that I read. But then something shifted. People stood up and they started crawling around the floors and looking through the seat cracks, and everybody in the plane was helping and looking in overhead bins and pulling bags apart, and a whole plane full of strangers turned into a search party. And eventually they found the missing passport, and the couple got to stay on board, and the entire plane applauded. And here's what caught my attention. Watching a cabin of strangers turn into a tiny temporary community. Because values like family and the value of community were obviously at work, but maybe a couple of less obvious values from the list of 56 were also driving things like personal responsibility and social standing. Personal responsibility showed up when passengers thought, you know what, I'm going to check my space, maybe we can fix this. And social standing showed up as people wanting to be part of the group that were driving the moment forward, and we wanted to feel proud of how we showed up in front of everybody else. This wasn't about a lost document at the end of the day. It was about a room full of people aligning around a set of shared values, and once that happened, the behavior followed naturally that solved the situation, because the situation connected what matters most to the people who were involved in the situation. So here's the takeaway. When you need a group to help in a moment of pressure, anchor your request in values that motivate them. Let's take care of our own taps into family, or something like, we'll solve this together is a way to say it that's going to activate community. And if everyone checks their space, we're going to be able to fix this properly speaks to personal responsibility. And let's be the group that's remembered for handling this so beautifully. That's about social standing. So there's different values that could do the same job, that get you to the same behavior. The trick is knowing which one will activate the people based on who you're working with. It's always the case. Values are always the answer. Remember, if you're trying to change what happens next, you need to understand what matters most, and that's always going to be about values, because values are the answer, and we just need to put them to work.